We've got a 2015 Audi A3, but this will work with any of the Bosch windshield wipers. I'll show you how to remove the windshield wiper blade. There's a button here that you want to press and pull. You're gonna pull straight out, and by depressing this button here. And we're gonna show you how to remove the old crummy rubber blades and replace with high quality, long lasting silicone blades that you can just pick up off Amazon. So I purchased these high quality silicone blades rather than rubber. They're gonna last longer from Amazon, and they come stuck together like this. You simply peel in the middle to separate them, and it gives you a sharp blade edge here. And this is what we're going to install into the Bosch wiper blade. So the tips on these Bosch vary. Sometimes they'll attach with a dimple, sometimes other ways, but they're not really meant to be taken apart easily. So there's not really a tool that I've found for removing it. However, the technique I'll show you will help you be able to remove and reinstall. So I'm going to, there's a open part in the pieces of metal that hold the end of the rubber in there. I'm gonna peel this tip out of the open spot just by grabbing the top of here and pulling through, and then the rest will peel out. And this will make the assembly come apart more easily. Once the old rubber is out, that dries out and fails quickly, you have more access. You can see the hole that I described for getting the rubber out. I haven't found an easy enough way to slide the new silicone into there, so we need to take this assembly apart. Either remove the ends here or take off this backing that allows us to slide the new silicone blade onto the wiper blade. So the tips of these aren't really meant to be removed, at least easily that I've found, and prying in here may damage the tips to where they won't stay on in the future. You can see it, it's a separate piece that slides over this backing. And so what I do is I remove the backing piece by applying pressure onto one edge of it and trying to get it outside of this, just to peel that backing off like so, which will give us access to put in the silicone piece. You can see it comes right off like that. You want to keep the orientation the same, but if you lose your orientation, you just match it up with that one over here, sliding it into the tip here and then back under the piece here. Now that I've got this open, I want to keep the rest of the assembly together as best I can. If it comes apart, like here, this falls off, it can get reassembled just the way you found it. But we're gonna spread the metal pieces so that we can slide our new silicone blade into here. So in this situation, this came off so easily. I'll keep the orientation, but again, if you lose the orientation, you know the raised edge goes to raised edge. And with that off, I now have a gap here that I can slide the farthest groove on the flat side into these wire, not wire holders, but metal holders. Okay. With the bigger gap, it'll fit in, and then we're gonna slide that piece down. So where I fit it in is this square. With the backing on, it didn't spread quite as far, but with it separated like I've showed you, then we can get that that rib down inside, okay? And it can be slid on and off, and you'll see now the silicone part will slide in between the metal pieces. To get this tip off, I push the two pieces of metal together, which separates them from being locked into the plastic tip. And with these two pieces of metal separated, keeping the other end attached if you can. If it comes apart, it's easily reassembled. You want to now be able to spread the tips apart and slide the new silicone blade between the two pieces of metal, or pinch it in using the outermost ridge on the blade here. Outermost ridge there, going in between these. And it gets a little fussy as the pieces are separated, so if you have to remove this portion, you can do that to get your blade in and pinched between the two pieces. That's the key, and it takes a little finesse to slide that along, but once it's in there, it will stay because this end is pinched. And we'll take the two pieces. Once you have the silicone piece lined up, this outer piece can just be pushed back over the metal edge. It's flexible, and so it'll pop right back over, just like this. So it's back in place, slides under the end piece here. And now we just focus on getting these two pieces of metal to line up in that ridge, like so. And then that tells us where we need to trim. So once we've got the piece aligned in the pieces of metal, then we're on the home stretch. It's quite easy from here. We trim with scissors to the end of the pieces of metal to get that exact fit. And then we place, because we didn't take this completely apart, we know the orientation of this piece. So with this end left as it was, this piece, if it came off, get it back into place where the notches match up on the metal ribs here. And again, you can tell by the ridge here which direction it should be on there. You're sliding the rubber, or sorry, this is now the silicone blade onto those metal rails. And the way you can verify that it's slid on correctly is it should only be practically flush with this part of the silicone blade, and you'll have a couple other ridges. That's why I emphasize don't have it any deeper. And these may come apart, they'll spread apart or whatever, but you can get it realigned. And then we're going to put, again, following the orientation of the other parts, we're going to snap this back on. So I like to lay it up one edge first onto that metal, verifying that we've got a good mesh of the grooves there, and snap it over, and just flexing the other side until it hooks over the other rib. And you can feel it's in place. Didn't have to work it very hard. It'll slide freely until we line up the ridge with the ridge and finish the assembly by snapping this end cap in place. And it, because of the way we took it apart, it will hold once it's put back in place, because the plastic hasn't been damaged here that was originally holding it in place. You can see there's a little play here, little play there. That's natural, but the tips should not come off. This tip no longer coming off, just like we started. And now I've got a new blade for maybe $4 in material from Amazon, and the old mechanical system by Bosch that fits your car and still does its job perfectly. We can go reinstall it now on the car and see how it looks. Okay, to reassemble, remember the push button. It's going to go into this hole by inserting this portion into the metal sleeve and sliding it flush. You'll hear it click. And now the push button is there. It's now secured. And we put the blade down. Again, that tip isn't gonna come off. These plastic pieces are just like original factory. And you have a new wiper blade that'll last a lot longer than the rubber blades, being silicone blade.